really want to be the next member of parliament for this riding because I want to bring positive change into people's lives. There are so many different types of unique challenges and struggles that people have all over this riding, and I really think that the Green Party platform will bring the best, most positive solutions to people in this area, and I really want to have that positive impact on people's lives.
And what qualifications do you have that you think would make you ideal for this position?
So I am pretty young. I'm only 21. And so I have studied politics. I did a year and a half in public affairs and policy management before switching to environmental studies at Carleton. And I've worked for the public service for almost 2 years now. I've worked for Health Canada, and I currently work for the Canada Revenue Agency. So I have a little bit of experience working for the public service. I also have studied politics to some extent, and I will continue studying politics from an environmental perspective. So I think my qualification, I guess, is that I'm very eager to learn, and I'm really enthusiastic about having those conversations with people. That's one of the things that I've really enjoyed most about this experience, is talking to people, realizing those unique challenges that people are having. So I think my openness and my ability to learn quickly would make me an ideal candidate for this position.
And what do you think are the main issues facing our riding?
So there's a lot of issues, especially unique ones in different pockets of the riding, but I think overall, and it was stated a lot in our debates, but affordability is a huge issue. This riding has some very high living wages, higher than a lot of the surrounding areas. So affordability is a big issue. Job creation is another big one. Unemployment rate continues to be at a fairly high level. And then I think environmental protection is something that's on everybody's mind, especially for Lake Simcoe. That's a big concern for residents living in that area. And overall, climate change is something that I think people really care about all over Canada, and especially in this riding. So those are the three things that I've heard from a lot of people. But there are other issues that are always common, such as healthcare, childcare, that kind of thing.
And what would you do, those three issues that you mentioned, what would you do to change those?
Yeah, so there's a couple of really exciting policies that the Green Party has, especially when looking at affordability. We're the only party that's committed to fully implementing a guaranteed livable income, which is an amount of money that every Canadian would receive unique to the region they live in. And this makes sure that no Canadian falls below the poverty line within Canada. So overall, it would help make life more affordable when you're looking at rent, food, prescriptions, for example. So that's just the baseline that we can offer Canadians to make sure that they aren't, low in their bank accounts at the end of the month. And when we're looking at jobs, there's the potential to create millions of jobs across Canada when transitioning to green industries and a green economy. And that's a very broad spectrum of jobs, such as energy, efficiency, retrofitting, and that has the capacity in this riding to employ thousands of people. So making those smart investments from a federal position can really help kickstart those job creation in this riding. And then as far as environmentalism, I think the Green Party has long been most commonly known for their stance on environmental protections. So we want to increase the amount of protected land in Canada to a minimum of 30% by 2030. We also want to make sure there are more environmental protections in place that were previously removed by other governments. And then we also have the most aggressive and comprehensive climate plan. We recognize that the Paris targets are important to meet in order to combat the negative effects of climate change. And so we would aim for a 60% reduction in emissions by 2030 and completely carbon neutral by 2050. And there's a lot of ways in which we want to do that, but it really needs to be ingrained in all of our policies. Everything should be viewed through an environmental lens because it's so crucial to everything that goes on in our country.
Where do you stand on the issue of guns?
So guns is a very controversial issue, or it's something that's very important to people as well. And so gun violence is unfortunately increasing in Canada. And so we want to ban all handguns and assault rifles and implement a buyback program for people that currently own those types of firearms. But we also don't want to make sure that people that use their guns in a responsible way and for the right purposes aren't penalized. So we would ensure that people who use their guns for hunting or for sport, or even just have on their farms, that they are not penalized through this. So they won't be affected. It will just be handguns and assault rifles.
Okay, so where do you stand on the issue of abortion?
So the Green Party's stance on abortion is that they support a woman's right to choose, and they believe that women who choose to have an abortion should have access to safe and affordable services.
And what about you personally?
So personally, I am pro-choice. I believe that a woman should have the right to choose what she wants to do with her body, and that a government should not necessarily regulate what a woman does or doesn't do with her body.
What about pipelines?
So I'm pretty anti-pipeline. The Green Party's stance, of course, is that no pipelines will be built. They don't want to continue expansion of the fossil fuel industry. And just as an environmental studies student who looks at the impacts of pipelines, although I do understand that they are very important economically, the environmental degradation and the potential for environmental hazards when it comes to pipelines is very great. And if we have any hope of meeting our climate targets and combating the climate crisis, we just cannot allow any further pipelines to be built.
Well, we really need jobs in this area, and you've already mentioned using the green economy to focus on job growth, but what else would you do to bring jobs here?
So I think one of the best ways we can help create more jobs in this area is by filling the jobs that are already needed. There's a pretty high demand in this area for high-skilled trades, PSWs, nurses, those kinds of jobs. And so by making post-secondary tuition free for all Canadians, we can make sure that training and retraining is more affordable, so people don't have that financial barrier when they're considering going to school or maybe a career change. And so that's a really quick way that we can create more jobs in this area now, by making sure that people have the resources they need to fill jobs that are needed.
And what do you do for fun?
For fun? Well, as a full-time student who also works part-time, I don't have a ton of free time for fun, but I do enjoy attending like pub nights for the extracurriculars that I'm a part of at university. Just spending time with my friends as much as I can, watching movies, wine and cheese nights, just to kind of relax, because I live a very crazy lifestyle.